Hello everybody, Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Thursday's edition, post-debate, and I have my very special guest who has been to many of these debates, Joe Visconti, joining me today. Joe, how are you from the great state of Connecticut?
Doing pretty good. The weather cooled off. It's really nice around here. It feels like fall coming.
Oh boy, yeah, it's a long way from that. You know, we're out here in Southern California. It's beautiful today. Joe, listen, let's get to what our viewers want to talk about. You know, all the media is talking about winners and losers from last night. Okay, before we get into the debate, what was your impression of President Trump's interview with Tucker last night? Give me your impression, highlights, lowlights, medium lights. Obviously, Trump's on his way down to Atlanta right now. Give us, our viewers and listeners, some perspective.
Yeah, well, if you didn't see the whole thing, you saw part of it. It makes a difference. He was really stoic. Never seen him. Maybe he needs to be indicted all the time to get back down to earth to deliver a great monologue. But he was really good on specifics. He had his ducks in a row. He didn't overspeak or say things three times like he usually does. Very different Trump. Tucker kind of went out on a lot of places that were over the top. One of them was Epstein. And it was amazing to see Trump, not really want to talk about it, saying he's got a lot of enemies. And I don't know if he killed himself. He really stayed away from the issue, which is one of those gotcha things. But he really had his administration, what he did, he had that down. And there wasn't the perpetual rally feel of saying things over and over. He did hit some people pretty hard, but he did it in a way that had specifics with it and on issues, which was different for Trump. So I think he may be learning how to do interviews, because it was probably one of the best I'll say low-key for Trump, but not low-key for America.
Well, he's somewhat limited in certain things he can say. That's part of the paradox of this campaign. These prosecutors have put such a muzzle on him on things he can say. I don't know. I mean, that's got to be a tough nut to crack, campaigning, speaking to as much media as he does, given these 4 cases he's dealing with.
Yeah, well, when he's elected, and I believe he will win at the end, that's just my feeling. But one of the things that he didn't mention was the permanent federal bureaucrats that run the country. And I think he's going to end up having to have acting defense secretaries, acting head of FBI. I don't think he'll be able to get a darn thing past the Senate to get confirmation. So just imagine 4 years of acting attorney general, acting Department of IRS, where they're just going to, if it continues like this, they'll play, the left will play, and the right, some of those on the right will do it, where he'll just have to have a, almost like when they have a military campaign and the MASH units outside where they're never really in the hospital,
Yeah.
You're never really fully in an administration. That's the thing that worried me.
Well, we'll see how it plays itself out. Again, he's on his way down to Atlanta right now, in one of the most disgusting things. We'll get into that case a little bit later. Let's talk about the debate last night, Joe. The media's flying around, winners and losers. I have my own opinion about that, but before I render my opinion, let's talk about some of the highlights and lowlights from the debate. I thought a couple candidates acquitted themselves quite well. In no particular order, I thought Ron DeSantis did well. I thought Nikki Haley did well last night. The only problem I have with DeSantis, sometimes questions that he gets asked that are easy, obvious answers, he sort of spins the answer a little bit. I think that's what part of his issue is. But I mean, overall, I thought he did quite well. Now, is he going to move the needle? I don't know.
Well, these are the moments, Mark, where when he took, again, I don't want to beat him up here politically, but when he took a moment to raise his hand to look around the room, those are the times we're living in, where that 5-second clip is all over YouTube and Twitter and Truth Social, where he looked left and he looked right, then he puts his hand up. The debate is becoming in our country more and more like those moments. And maybe he did know he was going to put his hand up, but he's got to watch those things for himself, that he doesn't make those. And that's what America looks at. They're just looking at these gotcha moments, and a few of the candidates had those. I mean, I overlooked that because I kind of knew he knew what he would do, but it didn't do him well for those small. And that's what you're really seeing the internet blow up with today, these little gotcha things for all the candidates, you know?
Well, I mean, the thing is this, when your policies are similar, I mean, he's got damn good policies, and he talked about them last night. They're not that unsimilar to former President Trump. But, again, the issue I have is, when certain specific questions, just answer the damn question. If you have an opinion, answer it. And if you don't have an opinion, then don't. But anyhow, I thought he acquitted himself reasonably well. Nikki Haley, I thought her facts were sharp. I was really disappointed in Vivek Ramaswamy last night. I mean, I get some of where he was coming from earlier in the debate, but man, oh man, I just thought he came across unpresidential. Now, having said that, and some of his facts related to what he would do with Israel, Taiwan, providing funding for Ukraine. I mean, that's a debate within the party right now. But here's a newcomer coming on stage, and the first part when he asked, well, who's this skinny guy with his weird last name? Okay, that's pretty funny. But again, he took up a lot of oxygen in the room last night, and I'm not so certain he acquitted himself well long term. Could he get a little bit of bump from this? He probably could.
He was Soros funded from the beginning. If you look at his history, he's a complete different person than what he appears to be today. And this is what worried about me about DeSantis. We had to take again, they're not Republicans. I don't want to go down the road and really hammer him, but the loyalty pledge with Trump, he should have been loyal to Trump. He wasn't. He got in for reasons, whatever. And so Vivek did the same kind of thing, where his history was one thing and now he's professing to be something else. But he did this, his job was, and I think it is he's trying to run for VP, bottom line. He's not going to make president. I think he knows that. He really handed Chris Christie his butt when he said, give me a hug like you gave Obama. And so the debate was filled with a lot of those moments where, again, that's not really what we want to talk about. We should be talking about, although he did do something good about Trump being indicted. What are we talking about, all this nonsense? And he's indicted. So he's not going to be president. I sound like Nancy Pelosi.
No, he's not.
Never going to be president,
Not in this election. No, I concur.
What can he do? What can he do to damage or box in other candidates? And that's what the night really was. There was a lot of, it wasn't really mud wrestling, but it was arm wrestling, and people were, feeling each other out as to who's going to be the alpha male. That Trump wasn't there. Who was the alpha male last night? I mean, he took it for the average Joe because he was hammering out there. DeSantis needed to step up, but he let Christie on his flank kind of come out and go battle. And so it was a mistake. I think they may have all had agreements or something, but DeSantis should have been himself and, repeated Florida over and over. He did some of it, but more from what I saw. Nikki Haley's great. I mean, I saw at the Bush dinner. Yep. She delivers. I mean, Trump picked her for the UN. That woman can deliver. She's not like Carly Fiorina. She's not. She doesn't have a bad taste in her mouth about anything. Right. Whatever her chances are, wherever she's going, she's sticking to her guns, and she's running a solid campaign.
Yeah, I concur with you. I know you don't like him, but I got to tell you, I thought Chris Christie was funny last night.
No, you're not Italian. You're not Italian. That's why. When you're Italian, okay, that was an Italian guy that should have done different than he did. He was funny. When I did
he was funny.
He's always funny.
He was pretty funny last night. I mean, whether he wins or loses, I mean, he attacked certain things, but I mean, he could have attacked a lot more, and he didn't. But what I thought was one of the more humorous lines of the night. Pardon me for laughing, but Fox News. I got to tell you something. Here we have a presidential debate. I don't know who puts these damn questions up, but Christie's like, they asked him about UFOs. I'm like, UFOs? What the hell is this doing in a presidential debate? I was literally rolling, so I'm like, I'm losing it right now, just laughing. And Christie goes, "Oh, I'm the one that gets the UFO question." I thought it was just classic, sort of a guy that, when you got nothing to lose, which he clearly was there, and
I'll let you laugh. It was an odd night from what I saw of it.
Yeah.
It was an odd night because we've got the front runner who ran before. This is really weird. The whole thing is weird. They have a lot of people kind of 2%, 3%, 5%.
Right.
Some have 10, 12, 14 or whatever. And it's like 2016 all over again.
It is.
In a different way, with this different cast of characters. And they're not bringing anything. And really, at the end of the day, they're not bringing much more than Trump's policies did bring.
Right.
And they're trying to own his policies without calling them that. It's a very hard nut to crack for any of them.
Well, I would go a step further. It's worse than 2016. I mean, 2016 had some competitive races for a while. Joe, polling I saw today, he's up 20 to 40 points in every state. I mean,
well, the thing to watch also, he's up to 250 million views on Twitter. This is so important. The media, we're doing media here at your show. The media is changing right in front of our very eyes.
Yeah.
When Fox got 50 million and they pushed a lot of money out, that's natural. That's not the retruths and on truth. That's not pieces that were put by other people. Dan Bongino, you name it, was retweeting it. They were all getting 20,000, 50,000, 80,000. He gets 250 million. This is unheard of. This is international. I believe it was other countries. People are looking, going, what's going to happen in America? Because we don't know what's going to happen in the world, but what's happening in America, because it's not all Americans that were viewing that.
Yeah.
And so it led me to believe those numbers. Tucker's got his own world. They know they're going to get the truth. Trump is going to give it to them that way. It really kind of was like we're all psychic and we're all telling each other, watch the debate tonight, or let's watch Trump tonight, at least catch it so his numbers will be up. And again, I don't really think it's about Trump. I know it sounds crazy, but it's really about a guy who brought policies in, and since day one, he had been attacked, could hardly run an administration, all the things they did to him, gamed everything, and he didn't really know the territory. He did not. He's admitting that, and that's what he did. I didn't really know Washington, he said last night to Tucker. I didn't know it. And so he went into a place like the casino business without really knowing it. And I think he's learned his lesson. He's getting pretty beat up over the last 8 years, though. And so all these candidates that are lining up probably are thinking, if Trump is taken out or arrested, I mean, what are they going to do? Really, in their heart of hearts, they're going to be great actors. Because right now, the only hope is that he gets taken out and jailed or something, because none of them really have a chance. And that's hard. And like you said, 16, they knew they had a chance. Trump may get bumped. This may happen. They got dirt on him, which they did at the end, when he grabbed the, what. And so that those opportunities aren't there this cycle.
Yeah, there was a couple people last night that I thought, again, they follow the rules. They earn their place on stage. Governor Burgum, I'll give him a little bit of a pass because literally the guy was debating after tearing an Achilles. I mean, he played basketball the day of the debate, tore his Achilles, went to the hospital. He was not that effective, not good, not bad, but I literally give that guy a pass. The fact he could stand there with, effectively a torn Achilles that day, give the guy some credit for guts. He founded a software company, very successful guy, successful governor, first time on stage. I give it a pass. On the other end of the stage, Asa Hutchinson, man, he sounded like an ancient governor of Arkansas. He's a good guy, good policy, worked in the administration, has had numerous jobs, but I don't know, boy, there was just no sizzle there whatsoever. Mike Pence, Joe, he was Mike Pence. I mean, when I look down and I say, okay, where's everybody's core constituency last night? Well, for Governor Burgum and Asa Hutchinson, I found no constituency. Christie's going to have the true anti-Trumpers, and as long as Cohen continues to fund him, he's going to stay in the race. And again, he's funny as hell last night, so he'll move on. Pence, the evangelical conservatives that are not with Trump will probably go to Pence. Is that going to get him anywhere close? I don't see it. Everybody touted Tim Scott. Tim Scott looked average last night. Nothing wrong, nothing bad to say about him, nothing good. Just he was just sort of there. Nikki Haley, I thought she had a really good night. Ramaswamy, I thought was a disaster. DeSantis was okay. But really, when you add up who was who, all right, DeSantis went in with about 20%. Joe, I think he probably left with about 20%, maybe gained a couple points. Nikki Haley may come up a little bit. But as I look and see where we are, how the votes are going to be, some of these people will not make it to Iowa, a la like Kamala Harris, our current vice president, who literally dropped out before Iowa on the Democratic side last time around. Some of these people won't make it to Iowa. Those that come out of Iowa, maybe Pence has to do good. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see DeSantis. But by the time they get to South Carolina, either Nikki Haley or Tim Scott, one of them won't make it past South Carolina. And if DeSantis doesn't win Florida, that's it for him. So, Joe, my analysis is people got their core constituencies last night. Some of them won't be around much longer, but at the end of the day, if some things don't start moving the needle, this thing's going to be over with by Super Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I know we're doing the debate, but the DA over there at Fulton County, she wants to have an October 23rd trial for Trump and the 18 defendants, which is less than 2 months. It's impossible.
Right.
So again, that may give some juice to the candidates, thinking he'll be totally under siege, and that gives them their breakout moments. If this was a horse race, they're coming around the final. Maybe they're halfway on the track right now. They're bumping and bumping and bumping, and they're just all in a bunch. There's really no breakout. We thought DeSantis would be like Jeb Bush. We thought he would. It's kind of funny, Governor of Florida, that he would have the money, he'd have the power, he'd be there. And I don't know if it's Trump luck. I can't tell you what it is, but he was the one that should have really popped out, and not because of Vivek. It wasn't because of that. He just wasn't on his game, and it's got to be tough. I mean, I don't know if he's ever done that many people on a national stage. Yeah. Don't forget. I mean, I've debated the governor of Connecticut on live TV twice for an hour. You got to know the whole budget. You have to know every law, every rule, because the media is around you and you don't know the questions. They're all rigged from the left. I mean, even Fox News. It's you got to really be in a comfort zone. So, and they do public speaking, but it's a lot different when you're bombarded with questions and gotcha moments and setup. So it was awkward. I think what I saw of the debate, it was totally, the word I would use was awkward.
Yeah, I'll give Vivek credit for one thing. He did say, when he was talking about energy, he says, we need to burn oil, we need to burn natural gas, we need to burn coal, wind, solar, you name it. Don't be afraid to burn coal because the rest of the world's doing that. He's right about that. I mean, and some of the point a few of them made, what I can't stand is when someone says, well, what about climate change? What about Hawaii? And, there was a tropical storm in California and, it's been really hot. It's always hot in the summer. Sometimes it gets humid in California. Climate change didn't cause those wildfires in Hawaii. Everybody with half a brain knows that. But because the Democrats are the party of idiots, hell, they preach that crap to their audience. They listen to it. And then, our side should stand up and say, no, it's not climate change. It's this. But they get
They have to come with something ridiculous like this, and they always do because they can't produce, they can't create jobs, they don't do anything productive. They're not for the nuclear family, they're not for any of these things, and they're left to do everything deviant, twisted, and whacked out, and basically like witch doctors, and that's what they're doing with climate change because they got no platform.
Well, but I mean, I was ticked off at Fox. Fox put some young kid on there to ask the question. He goes, well, I mean, the most important issue facing my generation is climate change. Oh, baloney. You tee up with young people, the most important issue is the economy, getting a job, being able to buy a house, pay for their car, pay now for their student loans. And they get some leftist up there that says, I'm a conservative, but I'm really concerned about climate change. And I'm like, oh my God, come on, Fox. They could do better than this. So, at the end of the day, I mean, I can't remember who said it before the debate, but someone said, hey, Secretariat's out there running and referring to Trump as Secretariat, and no one else is even close. And, I hate saying it, but because I like a competitive field, but boy, after what I saw last night, when they debate at the Reagan Library the next time, I don't know who all is going to be on stage, but I hope it's better than last night because I was not impressed with some of the questions. Brett and Martha, I think they did an average job. But again, you have to defeat the Democrats, okay? And you and I have talked, Joe Visconti. This election's ultimately going to come down to 8 or 9 states and, probably a couple 100,000 votes. So we can, we can talk climate change and
don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Trump doesn't show up for Reagan Library. I put money on it that he shows.
You think so?
At that point, you're probably going to get a few people out. People that shouldn't be there if they have no reason to be there. So it doesn't take the time. And that's only so there's more time.
You're talking about if they whittle the field down a little bit.
Put the strong was in it. If Chris Christie wants to do his stuff, Trump can handle him.
Yeah.
DeSantis, it's going to be awkward. He's going to turn to DeSantis and say, listen, you were nothing. I made you, and you can't even be loyal. How can you at home believe he's going to be loyal to you? He wasn't loyal to me. I'm the brought him to the dance, and he's going to ruin DeSantis in 5 seconds. So he can do that at will, and he knows that. I'm not sure that's the timing for him. When is that Reagan thing coming? October, is it?
Late September, early October. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't be surprised he doesn't jump into that one with maybe 2/3 of them. Nikki Haley's going to say to her, listen, I appointed you. I again made you. I gave you the opportunity. You're a good woman. You're a smart woman, but your poll numbers are in the toilet, Nikki. Just bow out and get back in my next administration. He's going to destroy one at a time. I'm telling you what he's going to say.
I'm not going to disagree with you because
no, but I mean, what can they don't want him there. If I was them, I'd be praying he doesn't show up.
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on. Okay. House Judiciary Committee, Joe, has launched an investigation into the Georgia District Attorney, okay, Miss Willis, on the political motivation behind these Trump indictments. So what are your thoughts on what's going on there?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, Mark, and I came up with some ideas just from the 20 years in politics. And there's a thing called frivolous lawsuits. So I think you're going to see our nation become changing in tort reform, and a lot of things that we're going to go through a whole change of the legal system because of this is crashing. And I believe the Supreme Court will have to weigh in on a bunch of these cases. And the end of the day, why? Because the legal precedent, they're going to get convictions in these blue cities and jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And when they get a conviction, if they stood and they're corrupt judges, you corrupt DAs, corrupt jurors in a corrupt district, you can't have a law stand if it's illegal. And so the Supreme Court will have to run in and actually overturn many of these when it's over, so they don't become legal precedents for other lawsuits for someone at work or business. And Brown versus the Board of Ed, you're going to have this as a basis for law, witch hunts here and there, all the things that they have done to break basically the rules, because as Al Gore said when he rented the Lincoln bedroom, there was no governing authority that said I couldn't. So I think you're going to have frivolous lawsuits by a state or a county, a DAs, and a new standard in this country about what can happen, because you'll have to. It's just like the instant replay for baseball and football. They had to bring it in because too many people weren't going to go to the games when the umpire was either crooked or looked the other way. And I think you're going to see that'll be the benefit that comes from all this crazy stuff.
Well, I mean, it saddens me that people like Trump, Giuliani, Trump's attorney, Mark Meadows, all these distinguished Americans who are conservatives. I mean, it's pissing me off. I mean, they're having to fly down and hire lawyers and go to Atlanta and get arrested, all because of this district attorney, her flaunting the outer limits of her authority. And I just hope at the end of the
it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop there, Mark. They're going to hit Chicago. They'll probably hit San Francisco next, or Arizona. They're going to pick their blue bastions and take this RICO thing here, and they're going to run it right up the flagpole in those states and continue. I did a show the other day, and I said, if that happens and they want to continue, Trump, stay at Mar-a-Lago. Let's get 1,000 boats surrounding. Forget the Trump boat parades. Fill up the intercoastal Atlantic Ocean with yachts and bring food in and stay there, run your campaign from Mar-a-Lago, not getting extradited, not getting out of there. It's going to be a Mexican standoff because he can't continue. You can't continue. They're not going to stop. They'll hit him. These are state laws. If you're listening, you have to understand these are not pardonable, no matter what Mark Levin says. They're state rules, state law. That's your jurisdiction. So, but the Supreme Court will be forced at the end of the day. I know it because the lawyers aren't going to allow this. it'll be not the end of America. It'll be the end of civilization.
Yeah.
You don't have civilization.
Yeah, you can't be doing the things that are happening right now. I mean, just setting an October 18th trial date.
23rd.
Yeah, October 23rd. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it just people see through this, and I think, Joe, it's going to push some independent voters to the right. I mean, just the blatant hypocrisy of the things going on, and they hit on it a little bit last night. But when you compare what they're doing to Trump et al., from Giuliani to Meadows and the rest of the group, and you look at what happened with the Hunter Biden thing, I mean, the contrast, it's disgusting by what we're seeing literally folding out before our eyes, Joe. And if it's annoying and irritating and really causing problems for Republicans, it's affecting independents too, is my gut feeling.
It is, but this is a civic lesson we're all going through for the last 8 years about what can happen when people start to personalize law. And then there's something I'm going to say right now. This is bizarre. I thought about this today. It came on my mind. It's not really spiritual, but the truth is above the law. Mm-hmm. The truth. Jesus, I got to get religious on you. I am God. No, you're not. Kill him. He broke the law. It was true. It is true. And truth always trumps law. And this is why, because law can be made and twisted by men, but truth, real truth. And at the end of the day, when Trump presents the truth, they'll just say, like, I hate to use Jesus, but I will. Nah, in the dead of night, I don't think so. But I did miracles. I raised the dead. Nah, I don't think so. And that's what you're seeing play out on a political, new technological world we live in. But it's the same game. Get the jurors, get a bunch of people that hate him, try to get, because he's threatening the establishment instead of, the Hebrews. At this time, it's the global establishment that want to run their proxy wars and everything else. And so it's the same thing. Truth trumps, and truth is really the real better word for truth is reality. Reality of what occurred from all perspectives, like an investigation, what really happened. But that evidence isn't going to be able to be put forward, which is why they want a less than 2 month trial, because they don't want to give the time for discovery or the truth to come out. So we're going through a civic exercise. Be patient, everybody. Get ready to do a swing state election, because that's what this is going to be next year. Yeah. And just whoever the nominee is, at the end of the day, hopefully their policies, if it wasn't Trump, their policies that mirror Trump, what he did, because it wasn't Trump, they're common sense policies.
Yeah. No, there's no question about it. Hey, let me move to the international stage. It does appear that Yevgeny Prigozhin, it appears that he was killed when a plane went down yesterday. Joe, doing maintenance on a plane before takeoff, clear skies, and yet, boom.
Well, if that's him, that's Russia. If that's him, that is Russia 101. Come on, it's always been that way. Not because they're communists. That's what rolls over there. It's betrayal. And maybe over here we have a heart attack. Somebody gets a heart attack from a shot or something, and we have a lot of different things. But if that is him at the end of the day, it may not be. They may have staged it. Maybe they didn't. I don't want to talk conspiracy, but he had to be gone from the picture. And how do you hide today? If it wasn't him, how would you hide a guy like that? You can't. So they probably offed him. Putin did it, and it sends.
That's likely what happened. It's sad that nine other people. Yeah, nine other people lost their lives in that thing too. Instead of innocent.
People will think twice about trying to, betray or assassinate the president of a country. It's brutal. It's their world mentality. We do things a lot different, like rig elections and and stack juries. They do it a little different when they take your plane out. And that was Tucker did ask him, will they kill you? That was, I couldn't believe I was hearing it. Do you think that they will kill you because they can't stop you? He avoided that question, and which was right for him to do. But for Tucker even to ask it, you got to say to yourself, what would put it past? Yeah. I don't know who them is or they is. You want to talk about pronouns? I don't know who them or they is, but they asked the question, and this is serious, because it isn't Trump. Really what we're talking about is, let's have the rule of law, equal justice under the law, no double standards for anything, enforce the law. That's what Americans want. They want fair play. They want a good football game, a good baseball game. You lost, tip your hat, and go on. And There's just been too many shenanigans we've been seeing it for the last 8 years, but it's been going on for decades.
Yeah. Well, also on the international stage, speaking of Russia, what do you make of Ukraine's claim about attacking Crimea? Their effective D-Day on Crimea, news was sort of leaking out. I can't validate it, but there were reports out there of Ukraine attacking Crimea. Joe,
Yeah, I don't know. It's not sourced yet that big, but Blumenthal from Connecticut, where I'm from, Senator Blumenthal, came back from Kyiv. There was a breaking news before our show. I texted it to you. And
right.
He's looking to push bipartisan. He was there with Lindsey Graham over in Kyiv, and they want another $24 billion. What does that mean? Raytheon? Was it? Raytheon, and not to knock Raytheon or any of them, but they need more bullets. They need more ammunition. So 20 humanitarian aid, they try to mask that. It would be for all the aid. So they're looking to rebuild the nation already with $24 billion. The war's not even over. So the Democrats keep coming back to the trough. And we need peace negotiations. I'm sorry. Trump said it. There's too many people dying. Stop this insanity. But like Al Gore with the no governing authority to rent the Lincoln bedroom, what governing authority or hero would we have to be able to stop this? Who would step up that we all admire? Where's Superman? I mean, where does somebody
Superman? How about having a competent guy at the helm? I mean, we got a guy that's...
I don't even address him. It's just... he's not running, and that's what Tucker said. Trump said last night during his thing with Tucker, when Tucker asked him if he's running, he sees Joe's not running the country.
No,
Trump said that he's not running the country; other people are. Whoa!
Well,
you elected a proxy president?
That's what it looks like to me. I mean, I look at some of his advisors, Cedric Richmond, that guy's sharp as a tack. I look at Gina Raimondo, head of commerce, she's sharp as a tack. The CIA director, sharp as a tack. And then I look at other people that are just incompetent fools. I won't release their names, starting with the vice president and down. But Joe, I've said it for weeks now, from not just his actions in Hawaii, but every time the man gets on screen and his lack thereof, I don't have the confidence that the guy is really there.
He's not. He's not there. We know. Everybody knows he's not there. Presidents, for the most part, are figureheads. And, I've been elected before, and there's a machine that goes on. I can't imagine the president in the size of our government. But that machine, the wheels crank, and it turns, and it goes. And it's hard. You can't derail it. You can't stop it. The best you can do is try to get it to switch tracks at a certain destination, because its machine is huge between the military, international law, the United Nations, commerce, right down the line, Department of Education, IRS. This is a monster. No one person could run it. And even these department heads you're mentioning can't run it. This is where the permanent Washington employee status is going. They are the ones running the country. It's running on its own.
Well, it may be running on its own, but you still there are certain key decisions that have to be made. And it's frightening, the fact that the guy sitting in the Oval Office who has to make some calls, somebody's making those calls, and it just doesn't give me
what I mean is it's running on its own. Is it's running, those bureaucrats that are unelected have been running it. And they did what they did to Trump all those years just to knock him out. We see that with the FBI, et cetera. But it can run on its own. Continuance of government. It can, and they want it to run in a certain way with an agenda, and that's the thing we don't see. The Democrat talking points that go out to the news media every day, just grab them all, put them in time and a timeline back 5 years, and you'll see that the Democrat talking points are all being put out by the think tanks and everything for a direction of America. This is all done, and the American public does know that. They had hope that they could
starting to get. I think they're starting to get it.
I realize they can't, and that's what this struggle really is. Are we going to be ruled by AI? Because if it wasn't this deep state establishment, would it be AI that's a programmed establishment that can reach into your phones, reach into your life, digital credits, currency, and really be given the authority that the Federal Reserve had gotten? That's where we are today. And it was these guys may be replaced by something else, and we have no human element, or we're not really running our world.
Joe, just don't tell me masks are coming back. I don't want to hear that.
Oh, I don't want to say that because your show. I don't want to get into that. Not today. We're not going to talk about it.
No. We're not going to get into that. All right. The Federal Reserve's meeting in Jackson Hole. I mean, all the big wheels are out there. What's Jerome Powell going to do? Are they going to, the Wall Street sold off today. NVIDIA reported great earnings. Where are we going to see with the stock market? Is there some concern out there that things are not very good in China and that this economy may be heading for more than just a soft landing?
Well, it's the interest rates right now. People don't want to sell their houses because they can't get low, or they have 3 and 4, 2, 3, 4, even 5% mortgages. They don't want 7, 8, or 9, and they need to send a signal that rates are going back to 4 or 5.
Oh, I don't see that happening.
If they don't, because inflation, but if they didn't, people won't sell their houses. They won't try to buy another house. It's really starting to affect because people think it's 7's going to go to 10. So we're at that. You get 10%, and your CD's like in the 70s, and you don't bother investing. We're moving that direction again. We've got to.
But the fact is, over a period of time, when you look back on history, the previous 5-6 years were abnormal. I mean, we haven't had 0 to 2% interest rates. I mean, historically, interest rates where they are right now would be considered reasonable.
Well, they would be, but the problem is we've been spoiled with eating sugar and candy and Fruit Loops instead of having good oatmeal in the morning. As children, we're feeding them junk, and so they've had the 0 to 2. And they're like, whoa! Our whole lifestyle, our credit cards are still 25. Yeah. If I got 2, I got 25 over here. So the whole matrix of how it gets set up. The public is nervous that they don't want to make a move with their homes. I'm getting every day. We have 30 houses in this town. It's normally 450 houses in our town of West Hartford, which is a bedroom of Hartford. Right. I don't know how you're in California, but there's only 25 to 30 houses for sale. And so they're getting letters. Everybody sell your house, and people, they got articles. They don't want to. They'd like to move up, but they don't want to lose that.
No, they're not going. They're not giving up 2, 3, 4% to get 7.5 or 8. So they ain't gonna happen. And cars are very expensive now too, Joe. I mean,
worse than that, the property taxes on the homes and the car taxes we have in Connecticut. So if you lost a 2 to 4% interest, you can't pay the taxes on the property. It's now for most houses in West Hartford, it's more than the mortgage.
And the biggest lie I hear out there is, well, we had 9% inflation, now it's down to 3 to 4. Wait a second. 9 was astronomical. This 3 to 4 is on top of the 9. No wonder people are just, I think the one thing the vice president said correctly the day Joe Biden was touting Bidenomics was when she said, well, there's 40 million Americans that have less than $400 in the bank and they're one paycheck away from bankruptcy. At the same time, he's touting Biden economics. Boy, someone needs to get her off stage. But that is factually true, which she said. A lot of Americans are in that position. I don't know, Joe. It's tough out there.
Yeah, it's uncertainty and fear is always a primer and a mover. But right now, I have a gut feeling. I know it sounds crazy. Next year, the Democrats aren't stupid, okay? They know next year what their whole, even if it's not Biden, they know what they've done. They do know. They're not going to ever tell them.
Nope.
And they're going to need to loosen up, call it something else, call it this or that, and don't call it that, with the border, with the energy independence, all this. They're going to have to change. And they usually do every 4 years. They lie, of course, but they're going to have to give the appearance that they're going a certain way. And this is where the Republicans need to press, but Republicans never really press hard, and that's our problem.
30 seconds left, Joe. Is Trump still the nominee, or are we still looking at Trump and Biden?
No, he's still a nominee. He'll get past all of these arrests and all this insane stuff. Our country's going to do a lot better next year than we think, because Americans are not going to put up with it. And the polling is going to show it. The real good polling will show what's happening. People are done. And the media won't be able to hide 250 million views on Tucker with Trump last night. That new media, your media, all these things we're all doing, we are not going to be lied to anymore. That's it.
Joe Visconti, as always, great analysis. Thanks for joining me here today. And Joe, unlike Yevgeny Prigozhin, stay safe. And I look forward to talking to you soon. That's it for today, folks. We'll be back next week. Again, stay safe. Prosper, keep your eye out, and cut through that propaganda and keep an open mind. Have a good weekend. See you then.